should conventions/events have application fees?
Shower room. It's like the camera's the shower head and
Looking more like each other than ever.
Yeah, girl is obsessed with Love and Deepspace. Hello and welcome to day 0 of SJMade Friend Fest. It has been a while since my last event, which really isn't that much because it's only been a month, but for whatever reason, my brain is a little bit fizzled in terms of setting up and everything. So it feels like it's been a lifetime ago, but we just arrived. We are at our table and we do have a corner, which is quite nice. I will talk about more details about our vendor space, what it comes with and everything later on in the video, so do stay tuned for that. But I do need to set up. It is very chilly here in SJ because right now it is 54 degrees, which is comparatively a bit warmer compared to the rest of the United States, but if you know California cold, that's pretty frigid. So since the last event, quite a lot has happened. There's a few things that I do want to discuss in this vlog. Some of those things being application fees, because I feel like that is a pretty hot topic within the artist alley community right now, just because it is a good conversation to bring up, especially now that there's a few different things with a lot of application processes for conventions as well as events. But right now we are setting up. I will say I allotted about 5 hours for setup, especially since this is a tad bit bigger compared to my other artist alley ones. So we'll see if we need that amount of time, or less. Hopefully less, but I feel like I might end up using all 5 hours. For SJMade, luckily you are able to rent out tables. So in my case, I ended up renting out a 6-foot and an 8-foot table. This one is the 6-foot table, and this one is the 8-foot table, because last year I rented out 2 8-foot tables. That was too much, and I realized I don't need an additional 8-foot, especially if I have my clothing rack. So in this case, 1 6-foot, 1 8-foot. Usually for SJMade, you do have the option of choosing a corner spot or an inline table. In my case, I do have a corner, and in the cases of the tables next to me or the booths, they have inline, which I believe is $100 cheaper. But in my case, I do value a corner table just because it gives me opportunity to showcase more product. However, if you want a more traditional artist alley setup, I would say the inline is a bit better in terms of that option. So quick check-in, it is almost 4 p.m. and so I just did the grids. So as stated, I did want to finish setting up before 5 hours. If we start around 2, did I start at 2? So actually, like, we're on good timing so far. The fact that we've been setting up for 2 hours and we have the grids done at least is success for myself. So this is a little bit different than last year. Last year I had 2 8-foot tables as mentioned, and essentially I had a big hefty table. I personally did not want that because it just felt too solid and it felt empty behind me because I didn't really have any sort of banner and everything was just front facing. So in this case, I did want to keep this portion a little bit more open, so then it just didn't feel as cluttered versus last time. I think it was a little bit more of a window. And in the front part, there are still a good amount of grids, but I am going to fill it up with all of the keychains and Ita bags up top, or at least the smaller ones. And then on the other side, and then on this side with the 6-foot table, I do want to put the Ita bags as well as keep this portion open. If you watch that other Friend Fest video, I did have everything up towards the edge of the table, but in this case, because I do want to try out a self-serve model for the sticker sheets and the vinyl stickers, this whole thing is just going to be filled with self-serve stickers. So we'll see how that goes this time, because I am warming up to the idea of having more self-serve with a good amount of my products, at least the smaller items. I don't think I'm going to do that with the Ita bags, let's say. I did like having it at Anime Impulse Los Angeles because it wasn't too busy that I didn't feel as paranoid having them. So one of the new things with my setup is this backdrop. So this one I got from Rune Studio. Low-key don't know where they got this particular pole system, but I love it because it only requires 2 screws and it's very easy. So at least I don't have to worry about losing any of the screws, but I do need to build this. It's very daunting because it just feels like a lot of work, but it's actually not that bad. My only worry is that I just don't want it to get dirty because I do need to basically spread out the backdrop just to make sure it's within the width of 8 feet. And in this situation, I just wanted to bring an 8-foot backdrop because I think 10 feet would take up too much space, even though this is a 10 by 10, and 8 feet would be enough for me to go in and out and not worry about whether I have enough space. So kind of went through the safe route. Not sure if that's the right size or next time should I have brought a 10-foot banner. We'll see, but let's build it. All of the SJMade vlogs is just both of us creeping up in each other's like background. The other two of the Three Musketeers are here. I realized that I should do my backdrop, so I'm just gonna do that out here because initially I had it in the back, but I don't have space, so we're gonna do that here. So one thing that I forgot to do until now is put up the keychains on the keychain board. So in this case, I've been using these cute little heart hooks that I've had forever. I think I bought them back in 2021, never used them until now, and attach them on here. So then I can put all the keychains in, and they turned out so cute. Very happy with the keychains. So they will be debuting this event, and I'll have them at all my following events. I have a good handful of them. Where are they? These are some of them. Very cute. My spam musubi, very exciting. And I have to do all of them because I couldn't do them because I didn't have these tiny zip ties, and I wanted tiny zip ties. Luckily, Henry Sticker Zoo did have tiny zip ties, so I had to wait till now. Okay, so this is actually quite life-changing. So as you can see here, if you can even see it, you see how there is very little stub with the zip tie? How was I able to achieve that? Because I feel like if I use scissors, it wouldn't work. In order to have a clean cut, guess what? There's these little snip, which I have been influenced. Thank you, Henry of Sticker Zoo, for letting me borrow this. I always forget to buy this, but you know, I never need it until con time, and that's when I remember. But very easy. Look, this is how easy it is. You see how long this is? Flat side, all the way towards the end. Snip. Now it's clean. And then move that way, move that way, move that way, move that way. It's getting darker. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Can you see? It looks so good. So cute. I'll do the official reveal tomorrow when it has all the things. Very excited for this weekend. We are going to get dinner. What are we getting for dinner? We don't know, but we'll see. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. You already know we have so many Izumi.
How many Izumi Matchas does one make on a table?
Too many. Good morning. It is day one of SJMade Friend Fest, and this is the finished booth. I am so happy with it. Look, it's so cute. So cute. Oh, I hit it accidentally. But very happy with how the display looks. There are a few things which I did bring up yesterday. I do have a few stands for the sticker sheets, so I'll give a really quick tour right now. So essentially this is the front part because the entrance to this event is all the way over there, and we're currently at F306, so I would say that that is more the center portion of the event because over there is the front, and then on this side, this is towards the back of the hall, which is also where we can enter if you're vendors. And essentially, this is one side of the display. I would say that there are a few things that are self-serve in this instance, but the rest of it, I do have some stickers on display. However, the bulk of my stickers are on the self-serve. However, if there is a sticker that they don't see in the self-serve stands and they sit here, we do have them. But I also just had them here so I can fill up that space and it doesn't look too empty. And on this side, this is more of the corner portion, so whoever's helping would pop out over here. And I do have the sticker stands down here. I do like how they look. There's about 5 of them. Also had them 3D printed. If you saw my Anime Impulse LA vlog, got them from Sando. Put lots of signage so people know that They are $5 each and 3 for $12. Then over here are the sticker sheet stands. So I also had them 3D printed. Designs are from Sando. They look really good. How many sticker sheets do I have? But I realized recently that I finally have about 12 sticker sheets. So it does feel like quite a lot because when I first started, I believe I only had 5. Did I only have 5 designs? I think so. I only had about 5 sticker sheet designs. However, I went through a massive drawing phase. It's not really a phase. This is my job, but I just drew a lot in the past month and a half and pumped out like 5 or 6 more sticker sheet designs. Very happy with how they turned out. I think they look super cute. One of my favorites is the matcha one, and I believe I haven't put them up online yet because I just received them a few days ago, but I'll have them at some point in the next few weeks, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. I do have the other Ita bags here. I didn't have all of my designs because I just don't have enough space for them, and I also just didn't want to overwhelm people with options, so I only brought ones that I could fit. I have the new red sweater. I'm also wearing them. It's also available online. And then I have my typical clothing rack that has one of each sweater size, so then if you want to try one on, you don't have to ask me. So I did notice that when I had this for SJMade Holiday Fair back in November, I really enjoyed it because people had a chance to feel it, try it, see if they like it, rather than asking upfront, because I have noticed that some people don't like to ask if there isn't an option because they might feel compelled to buy something if they're put on the spot, and I don't want them to feel uncomfortable and feel forced to buy it. I feel like this helps. Plus, I've noticed that with a lot of these types of events, or just events in general, if there is the option of trying it, people are more incentivized to buy it because at least they're a bit more assured with their purchase rather than guessing if that size will work for them. But that is the entire display. Very happy with how it turned out. And especially since I did include this backdrop in the back. This one is the 8-foot by 8-foot backdrop. Very happy with it. And hopefully if I ever have a corner spot in the future, I would like to incorporate this type of display and have the backdrop somewhat diagonal to the display. But very happy. Hopefully this weekend goes well. If not, I'm also just happy to be here. But thank you. Oh, sorry.
And you've been in this booth before, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
If you need additional photos, just let me know. But
Okay.
it'll print out too automatically.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Rivers! Rivers! The photos turned out so cute! Yay! We're walking now. Everyone's walking around. Hello, quick update. It is now 12:46, and seeing how it's been about 2 hours or so since this event started, I would say that there's a pretty steady flow of traffic. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember how it was last year in terms of the flow of attendees. However, we've had a relatively consistent flow of sales. A lot of smaller items, stickers, sticker sheets, some pins, a few keychains, which really appreciated because this is the first event where I do have the keychains. I wasn't really sure how they would do, especially since most of them, not even most of them, all of them are original characters, and so there isn't really any fan art attached to them. But to see that people are enjoying them makes me feel fulfilled, so very happy about that. I will say that in the beginning there was a bit of a slow start. I would say the first 30 minutes or so, but now that it is a bit later in the day, people probably slept in. They're starting to arrive. It's not even almost lunchtime. It is lunchtime, or lunchtime is almost done. So people are now starting to flow in, which is quite nice. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. I do remember that Sunday was a little bit slower compared to the entirety of Saturday, but who knows? I will say I'm very pleased with the turnout so far. I will say though, I did talk about this last year, but if you're familiar with South Hall, which is essentially that large industrial tent/building that is behind the San Jose McHenry Convention Center. That is where Friend Fest is held. I believe Winter Wonder Market is also held here, which is one of SJMade's events. And if you've been to this event center, it's quite dim. It doesn't look dim right now because this camera tends to show things a little bit more on the brighter side, but it's quite dim in here, which is why I like to use this flexible lamp light. This is quite large, I will say, and I do like it because it just spreads like this so that you can cover more area when trying to keep it well lit. And especially if you're not towards the windows, which is on the other side of where we currently are, it's gonna be on the dimmer side. So if you can have some sort of light, whether that's string light, lamps, you can definitely stand out a little bit more, if not at least illuminate your products, because otherwise it is very easy to become an oversight if your booth is not well lit when the other neighboring booths do have proper lighting. I would say invest in these. I did invest in these last year, thought it was worth it. I did buy another one, but it hasn't arrived in time, so I just still have the same amount of lights as last year, but I did add the string lights, which I have been introducing at a lot of my events. Very happy with these. I will say I did not charge them, so that's why only one of them is on, but it is what it is. Still pleased. We're gonna go visit Kelsey and go play. Oh, they're so close. Hello. Play, play, play. I've been welcomed by Kelsey into the lads fandom. Because my favorites are Zane and Silas. Yay. It's Ivy. Booth neighbor. Walking around with Kelsey. It looks delicious. Her Einspanner. Wow. I came to Henry Sticker Zoo's booth to steal some chicken. It is now 4:06, so a couple hours until, I was gonna say con ends, but this event ends. I would say that within the past 30 or so minutes of me walking around with Kelsey, it's pretty packed. I will say that there are some spots where there aren't as many people. However, it's that type of situation where eventually the busy crowds will move into the more empty spots. But it's so interesting because I was talking to her about this. I've been doing SJMade events since 2023. My first one was SJMade Holiday Fair 2023. And now that I've been doing this for essentially like 3-4 years now, or at least this circuit of SJMade events for 3 to 4 years, it's interesting seeing the growth in the type of booths that vend here, because nowadays if you've been to any of the SJMade events, you'll notice that there are a good amount of vendors that tend to have a curated product line. The booths are really well done, the products are great, and it seems to fit a specific aesthetic. I will say there are a few booths in which their products seem, I wouldn't say are very different, but does not fit the aesthetic. So it's really interesting seeing that, because I feel that it wasn't as prominent back in 2023, maybe even 2024, but here at SJMade Friend Fest. But here at Friend Fest, it is very specific to that type of aesthetic. Also, the thing that I did want to address, which I did perhaps mention earlier in this video, depending on whether I kept that edited or not, is that there is a recent debate in terms of applications. One of them being, should conventions/events have application fees? Now, what is an application fee? For example, college. If you go to college, university in the United States, most of the time there is a cost in order to apply for said college. Will you get into that college? I don't know. You either get in, you get waitlisted, or you don't. However, regardless of the status of your application, you still have to pay that fee. So in this case, this is applicable for Artist Alley, let's say. And I wouldn't say this is a new phenomena. However, in the anime convention Artist Alley scene, it is something that is slowly being introduced. If you didn't already, I do stream on Twitch. I try to stream about once a week to once every other week, where I typically work on new artwork, con prep, give previews of upcoming stamp rallies, and insights on some conventions that I've done, and so much more. If you don't want to miss the next stream, consider following me on Twitch. I will have my link down below, and I'll see you in the next stream. Not by many conventions. I will say that a good majority of conventions don't charge to apply, but there are a couple that have started to do so. And I will say that I do understand both sides. I'm not going to say which one I'm for or against. I just understand both sides. And in your case, you know, you're entitled to an opinion. So it is interesting to hear these sides. So what are those sides? First one is pro application fee. If you're familiar with applying for Artist Alley, you know that it's incredibly competitive now, at least in comparison to the past several years, especially pre-2020. As someone who did start post-2020, it is more difficult to try to vend at conventions nowadays. For a lot of conventions, which used to only have 1K apps, probably even less, nowadays are probably getting 2K, 3K applications. And especially for a jury convention, there's only so many that a jury can go through. And granted, I've never been on jury staff. I don't know what goes on particularly, but I can assume that it takes up a lot of time, especially if this isn't even a full-time position and it's only volunteer, which a lot of conventions are. How exactly could you slow down the number of applications and also make sure that applicants who apply are probably at a higher percentage of attending said event if they get in, is to introduce an application fee. If every convention had a fee, the people applying are most likely going to think a little bit more about whether they should apply or not, rather than applying willy-nilly, which I don't blame people for doing that, because especially if this is your full-time job or you do depend on this sort of income with conventions, most likely you're going to want to spread your net, so to say, as much as possible and try to get into as many conventions as possible, because you don't know if you'll get into one or the other. But by introducing a fee, you may potentially have to consider, should I apply for this convention or should I apply for this convention? So that's one side of this whole argument. So for the second argument, those who are anti-application fee. Some may argue that an application fee is not good because that could set a precedent for other conventions and events to also introduce a cost in order to apply. Right now, it might be $1, $2, $3, $5, but it could very well increase to $10, $20, $50, $100. And if you essentially introduce that idea and it seems like people don't care about the application fee, other events might do the same thing. And now if you're trying to apply for more conventions, you're essentially potentially paying tens, hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars, which that would be kind of insane if you had to spend $1,000 on application fees, but it could get to that point if fees are also increasing at the rate that tables are being charged. And especially if this table fee is non-refundable and there are malicious conventions or malicious events where, maybe I wouldn't say malicious conventions or events, but staff who could potentially be malicious, if they are money hungry or greedy, what's stopping them from keeping an app period for a very long time, raking in those application fees just to reduce the number of applications, but now they're getting extra money for what? So to say, not my opinion on for what, but what someone could feel in that situation. So those are two sides that I can think of. If I do think of other reasons as to why someone might be pro or anti-application fee, I'll bring it up later in the video. But however, I am curious as to what you think about application fees. While I do understand that there are rising numbers of applications, at the end of the day, Artist Alley is a popular, I wouldn't say profession, but just something that a lot of artists want to go into, especially in this difficult economic time. But I also understand that introducing an application fee will potentially strain a lot of artists, especially if they are casting a wide net in applying to different events and conventions. So let me know what you think. Are you for application fees, or do you not like the idea of them? Do you understand why both sides are feeling this way? Let me know. I'm very curious. And I do think it's something to think about within this Artist Alley climate. If you didn't already, I do have a Patreon. I typically post my behind the scenes on upcoming artwork, new products, how I set up my display, and so much more. And if you're on my Biz Buddies tier, I do post reviews on events that I've done that I don't typically share on social media or vlogs, as well as Patreon cuts of my recent vlogs and videos. So if you're interested in supporting me and this channel over there, consider supporting me on Patreon. Besides application fees, I have thought about what other solutions there could be in order to potentially reduce the number of applications. Some of the free options that I've seen other events do is have a cap on applications. One example is Fanime. However, as y'all know, I did show it in the AXGB vlog when I was applying for Fanime. It's really tricky because even if the application cap is a big number, like 1,000, it took about 30 or so minutes for Fanime to cap applications, and that's only because the website was glitching, so to say, or it was crashing, not glitching, it was crashing. And some people don't like that because they view it as unfair because it's essentially first come, first serve just for your application, and that doesn't really guarantee you a spot in. But in this case, it's free. Another one is having some kind of time limit. So for example, in past years, KomoriCon usually has a 1 hour time limit. So they say the specific date, and you can only submit your application within an hour of the start time. If you miss it by a second, a minute, you can't get your application in. Another one is just mixing the type of application. So for one example, Anime Central, they have lottery first, and then they have jury. So it essentially decreases the number of applications that they have to go through. So essentially they kind of filter out a certain number of applications, and then from there, it's a smaller quantity, and they're able to go through that list, also free. I do wonder with the potential application fee, if that will actually filter applications, whether that would decrease the number of apps that are being sent in to these conventions. However, you can also argue that it essentially prices out beginners or people who don't have the finances to put aside money for an application fee. And you can also argue that one application fee, especially if it's a smaller amount, less than $10, won't be too bad. I understand that sentiment. You're essentially skipping out on getting boba one time, and it'll be equal to the application fee. But it's also different when you're applying for multiple events. That's going to add up, right? Is it tax deductible? Yes, but it's still a cost, even if you can deduct it from your taxes. But let me know what you think. I'm very curious about everyone's thoughts because, I mean, I'm not going to name the con. You can probably think of it if you're chronically online or you just know someone in Artist Alley, because this was a thing that was discussed. Also, I wanted to say thank you for this red envelope. This is from Honey Choba. Thank you so much. Super sweet. Basically, they came by, knew that I'm into lads now. Guilty. Oh my god, did I not bring that up? I'm into lads now. But anyway, they asked who my favorite was. I said Zayn and Silas, so they did have a red envelope that is dedicated to Zayn, so I'm gonna open it now. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I appreciate this. Very exciting. Ooh, oh, spicy. I don't think I can show this. This one I can show. It looks so good. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. And then this is their Instagram. I love when people send me goodies. I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you so much. Funnily enough, full circle moment, which I was telling Kelsey. If you remember, in last year's vlog, at least last year's SJMade Friend Fest vlog, Kelsey was essentially introducing me to lads, aka Love and Deepspace. At the time, I refused to play it because knowing myself and my addictive personality, it'd be over for me. And I definitely know myself well because I started playing 3 weeks ago, so about a month ago, and I'm obsessed. So am I surprised? Not really, because I knew this, but your girl is obsessed with Love and Deepspace. As I said, my favorite is Zayn and Silas. Initially, I went in trying to be open-minded. I didn't really know much about the boys, except that Silas is one of the more popular ones. I did get attached to Zayn because he does remind me of Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen. To no one's surprise, he was my favorite, but I also wanted to wait to choose a favorite until I met Silas and Caleb. Finally got to that point, didn't realize how much time had to go in between until I met Silas. And I really like Silas, but I still really love Zayn, so I'm a snow crow girly, as they say. Very exciting. Also, by this point, I think I posted on Instagram already, but by the time this video's out, I will have my Love and Deepspace pins on pre-order. So if you like lads, you want pins of them, and you want filler pins of them, I will have it on my website. I will have it linked down below, so if you're interested in pre-ordering them at the lowest price, as well as get a free lad sticker sheet, you can get them down below. I will have them available for a week, so starting from Tuesday, February 24th until March 3rd. Low-key, I don't know what time it is. It essentially is about 30-ish minutes until this event ends. And we are currently at the Sticker Zoo booth. He's filming right now, but I am covering for him, so I'll put this here. But essentially, I am making him walk around and get footage, so in order for him to do that, because he is soloing this weekend, I have to cover his booth.
I was locked in.
Yeah.
If I was expecting 2 apples at the show, I've met my expectations. I've gotten 2 apples.
He got the 2 apples.
I just don't want to share like all the numbers and everything, but this show has been amazing. so far for my
Yeah, actually, I'm pleasantly surprised because I was expecting, or my goal with the low expectations is to have at least the same amount as last year, ideally.
Did you beat it?
I think, yeah, we did, actually.
Yes!
We exceeded last year, not by like amazing margins, but very happy. That's actually, in the past year, 2 years, this is probably the first show that has exceeded my previous year in this economy. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you stop by, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the little gifts and for supporting. I do think that the self-serve has been helping a lot, especially with the stickers. I will say the only issue is that I do have to double check that I did restock them because sometimes I don't know that they're sold out until they're empty. Oh yeah, if you want to see the how, essentially we're all neighboring. So this is Henry of Sticker Zoos. He has plenty of space behind his booth. And then Ivy's is... He's going crazy with the filming, but yeah. Also, I will say, which is kind of funny because I'm in the Sticker Zoo booth. However, looking at today's result, I'm quite pleased with today. Very happy with how today went. I can also think, like, is it because of the self-serve option, which I did with my stickers and the sticker sheets? But there is quite a lot of people. It has been relatively steady throughout the rest of today in terms of the number of transactions where there's a transaction every few minutes or so, which I can't complain about because I do appreciate a steady flow of people because it is a bit difficult if there's big gaps between purchases. Of course, it also depends on the average order because you can say, oh, there hasn't been a lot of sales. However, if each person has larger orders, then it kind of evens out versus many people buying, but then it's a lot of smaller orders. So really depends, but all in all, with all of the words that I just shared, very pleased with today. Very curious about how tomorrow will go. We are going to get dinner. Very exciting. Were you curious about how I get to one booth to the other? This is what happened. So from Henry's booth,
Macy has to be.
we got to go through here, the apartment, the New York apartment, and then my diagonal banner. And then you go through here. And then you see Ivy. Oh. And then we enter here. With the way we're closing up the shop, it's like her booth is being fumigated for the termites.
Art installation?
Yes.
Is this a house renovation?
Also, big hack. If you are neighbors with fellow friends, or you can even ask your other booth neighbors, you can use each other's booths to cover up. I think because of how the booth... What is she doing? Her first one. Oh, sorry. Oh. Yeah.
I just like the ice cream you get in like...
Yay, Emmy approved! Peko Puff Quavadoodle approved! I got the Yuzu Matcha because I really like Yuzu, so I want to try. Oh, I like it. It's like refreshing. I would get this again. So excited! Yay! My first Malatang. Hello! Yeah! So... Yes! Forge Panda. Look at their capybaras. Clicky. So cute. So I did talk about the ongoing discussion on application fees for conventions, and I wanted to hear some opinions from other vendors. So who are you again, and what's your opinion on application fees?
My name is Henry of Sticker Zoo Designs. I'm one opinion out of many, so don't take me too seriously. But vendor application fees are potentially something that might be implemented in the future for other cons. I'm seeing a little bit of it. I've had a couple shows where I have to pay an application fee. College events, for example, $15 to apply.
Is that for every college event that you've done?
Not
so
everyone, but some of them. And yeah, they implemented it about a year ago, and I'm seeing a couple other conventions start to implement fees. All I can say is I'm gonna play the game still. If the game is hard, I'm still gonna play the game. Because what am I gonna do? Not play the game? I have to, guys. I have to.
It's our job.
This is my game. This is the game, the only game that I main. I have to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I am understanding of the argument of, sure, it's the game. I also believe that. It's like, well, not to say that I can't do anything about it, because there have been some conventions where if other vendors / artists are not happy with a certain situation, they will voice their concerns, and then that event or convention has overturned it. So I do understand why some people might be voicing their opinion, but at the same time, I do think that it was something that was going to be implemented later on. It just so happens to be now, at least with this particular convention.
Yeah, I can see both sides. I don't fault anyone for expressing their opinions in regard to the situation, but I'm a pay-to-play player, sadly. Or not sadly, I don't know. I have no idea. Shower room, because like the camera's the shower head, and we're all in here to close the
Are we
shower
ready?
curtains.
So there's only 2 photos.
Give me 1 moment.
And then I'll just boop, like that, and then boop.
Oh, okay.
'Cause
Oh my goodness, thank you! Oh, they turned so cute. Thank you so much. We tried. We had to try so hard for the star. Yay! We're about to see the cats. They're so precious. They're so cute. We had to wear shoe covers. Hi. Ah! Thank you. He's so cute. Wait. Wow. Savannah. You're Savannah. Savannah. You're so cute, Savannah. Want to play with the toy? Oh, so many kitties. I got another one. You're so cute. Hello. Hello. So pretty. You're so beautiful. There's more babies. There's more babies. They're so cute. Oh my god. Hello. Oh my god. Say hello. Hi. They're so tiny. Oh my gosh. Can I hold you? I mean, I'll hold you. Is that okay? So cute. Hello. He's a baby. You smell good. Wow, look at Bianca's sign. Oh my god. I was like, why is she undressing right now? Snacks, what the heck?
yeah, it was fine.
Wait.
What is this?
Thank you. This is Ivy's magic hats.
Trust everything you see.
Actually, these are just props for the photo booth.
My booth is just the floating hat.
It's just magic.
I do like this because it's like, oh, you see the pink booth, and then the blue booth, and then the green booth. Big colors, very exciting. Love the fit. Yes. It's like there is hair on the back of my head. No. Egg tarts, they look delicious. So technically, I am on the run, and I believe the con started, but I did just get my egg tarts, so very exciting. We did a group order because there was a discount of 10% off if you got 9 to 12. So, gotta deliver these. Hello, dropping off the egg tart. Gotta show the egg tarts first. They look beautiful. Oh. The corn cheese looks good, so I want to try it too. Wow. I don't want to like... Wow. This is like the best I can do because I just don't want to drop it. Yeah. Wait. We got some matcha. Very exciting. Hopefully I don't drop this. Let's see. I would be very upset. We got some matcha, which is very on brand. And this one's from Cafe Depot, which is essentially one of a few matcha booths in this event, actually. I ended up getting a matcha Einspanner. I do need to deliver Ivy's matcha latte. And then my helper got a pistachio latte. Look at that green. What a gorgeous green. Kelsey got drinks too. Her drinks.
What I really came here for.
While I enjoy my matcha Einspanner, let's talk about SJMade Friend Fest. For a 10x10 space, I spent $600, and that is a little bit more expensive than an inline spot because there is, I believe, a $100 difference if you get a corner versus inline. They do allow sharing if you want to pay less or try out SJMade Friend Fest. However, I believe you're supposed to let them know ahead of time that you are interested in sharing. I believe you're also able to choose who you can share with, but I don't have much experience on that end because I have not shared before. I believe you're also able to input who you would like to be placed next to. So in our case, I'm pretty sure I put DrawnbyIvy and Sticker Zoo on who I would like to be near, so that's also why we're lined up next to each other. That's usually the case for a lot of events or conventions. You are able to request if you want to be placed near someone, because if you're soloing, it's probably easier for you to be able to use a restroom or walk away from your table because you know someone is able to keep an eye out for it.
I got the cookie!
Essentially, for that cost, you are only paying for a blank 10 by 10 space. You are able to provide your own tables and chairs. However, I found it a little bit more convenient to rent tables and chairs here. I'm trying to remember how much it cost, but I believe for every single chair, if you want to rent a chair, it's $2 each. And if you want to rent an 8-foot table, it's around 30 something. And I think it's about the same price for a 6-foot table. So in my case, I rented an 8-foot table, a 6-foot table, and then a chair for this price, which to me was worth it because for a lot of events, if you want to rent certain amenities, it's a little bit more expensive, and I find that SJMade does keep it pretty reasonable on keeping these pretty affordable. Plus, even though I do have tables and chairs, just because the tables take up so much space in my car, it's not worth it for me to bring it myself if that space could be allotted for more merchandise. I would say that as someone who has been vending in the SJMade events for a while now, it's interesting approaching this a bit differently than, let's say, an anime convention with this event because it is a bit more craft-oriented, maybe a bit more general audience. Self-serve is usually recommended with this type of event. Obviously not with everything. There are a few items on my catalog that I would not offer as self-serve, like my Ita bags, car magnets maybe, and other items that just don't seem to fit that. However, when it comes to stickers, sticker sheets, potentially pins, and maybe keychains in the future, I would offer it as self-serve. Now you may be wondering, is this event worth it if you are interested in vending at this type of event? For myself, again, I've been doing this for a while now. I say that it's worth it. I love the SJMade staff. They're great with communicating everything. I see them walking around all the time, and a lot of them are familiar faces at this point because they are at most, if not every single event. So you are able to identify them if you need help with anything. I'm also based in California, so all I have to do is drive up to NorCal, and I can keep my expenses pretty low because I'm not flying in. Though I do know a few people who do fly from within the state, and to them it's still worth it. Per usual, because this is a 2-day event, I would not recommend it for people who do have to travel from a different state, especially if you're flying, because your expenses can be higher. However, if you are more established and you have done decently well at other general/craft events, because if you've watched the other vlogs, I've mentioned that the SJMade audience is more on the college age, skews a bit younger. They do like their trinkets and are the type to probably buy something from Pop Mart or love a blind box. And if you think that your audience aligns with that, then I would say go for it. If you're local, definitely try it out. If you're not local, let's say you do have to fly, I would say no, unless you are a bit more established and have been able to cover at least $1,500 of expenses. Of course, it could be more or it could be less, depending on if you have a place to stay. Maybe you're not paying for a hotel. Of course, many other things, but again, it's up to you. And if you're still skeptical, there is the option of sharing, so you don't have to risk $600, $500 for a space if you're able to split it with another person and try to keep expenses low. But personally, I love it here. I will continue to do SJMade events for as long as they'll have me. I did want to try to do Summer Fair, but I do anticipate that I might have something that weekend of Summer Fair, so I didn't bother applying. But do note that there is an application fee for SJMade. So it's your first time doing an SJMade event, even though he has done Holiday Fair with me. What is your opinion about it now that it's day 2 now?
It's fun, it's a good crowd. I think most people here are like 16 to 32 age range, so if you have products that cater towards that demographic, it's cool, it's good.
He did pretty well yesterday, so okay, bye. Oh, you have your egg tart. Great vibes, great people, attendees are great, very lovely. I think it's funny because there were a few people yesterday that were like, did you have your Izumi Matcha? It's like, they know I love my Izumi Matcha. And it's like, yes, I did. I had it twice now. Might get some more later today. We'll see. So I wanted to talk with a few other artists in terms of the application fee debate, whether it should be implemented and why it might not be a good idea to have. And what is your opinion on that?
I am kind of middle ground right now. I'm not particularly for or against. I understand why they do it, but I also anticipate that by having our first con now implement an application fee, it's setting a precedent for other artist alleys to start doing the same thing, and then we might see a rise until the application fee feels a bit not great, but I can see why they do it, because I feel like now that there's an application fee enforced, I feel like it makes people have to be really sure about wanting to go to that con and apply, because then if you just kind of apply all willy-nilly, that's a potential $5 that you're going to lose, kind of thing. And I understand why they do it, because jurying does take time and effort out of the people on jury. And so if you just have people that are kind of applying without thinking or researching for the con beforehand, and then ended up getting in and realizing, oh, actually I don't want to go, blah, 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 then now it's more work on the panel to have to go find another application to take their spot. And in the end, like, $5 isn't terrible. I would prefer to not pay $5, but I definitely understand why it's been set into place.
$5 could mean a lot to some people, though in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to inflation, it's not a lot. But when thinking about how it could add up with multiple applications being $5, assuming they're even $5, some of them could be 10, 15, 20, who knows?
We have no choice at the end of the day. Like, I could feel for or against it, but this is our full-time job. It's our source of revenue. So it's like, well, there's an extra $5 that I now have to account into my expenses. And I might have to start accounting that 5 to 10, 15, whatever dollars into every application from now on. And it's just something that you just kind of have to deal with, because our other option is to not have any events and no roof on our head. So
homeless.
If the times are changing and the game is changing, I've got to keep playing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand why people are upset, because if it was once free, why start charging it? But then nowadays, it's a business expense. Like, at the end of the day, we are running a business. Granted, we started vending in Artist Alley post-2020, so we didn't really get a chance to experience how it was as a hobby, even if we didn't start out doing this full-time. But I'm sure the perception of how Artist Alley would be as a hobby versus as a business is very different, even though technically it is a business regardless if it's a hobby or not.
I think people also have to keep in mind that the rate at which Artist Alley has grown in the last few years has been exponential. You see con after con, year after year, coming out and going. We just received our new number of applications, and it's higher than last year, and it's higher than last year, and it's higher than last year. And it's like, let's say back in 2019, it may have taken them a day to go over all the applications that they received. Now that they're receiving thousands upon thousands in 2025, 2026, the amount of time that they're spending going through, jurying, making decisions on this application has probably also increased a lot for staff as well. So the crowd that is like, you didn't enforce it all these years, why start now? That could also be a reason, because the amount of applications a lot of conventions these days are receiving is so much more than it used to be. I think as long as they're transparent about where that money is going, and they're not just being $15 application fee, and you're like, okay, but where's my money going? Are you pocketing that, or what's up with that? As long as cons are transparent about that type of thing, I think a lot of artists end up understanding, even if we're not particularly enthusiastic about it.
Application fees are not a new thing. Maybe it is in the Artist Alley space or the popular Artist Alley space, but college application fees. Thank God job application fees are not a thing.
The amount of resume, the amount of cover letters you have to write to send in only for them to never get back to you.
It's like, imagine Artist Alleys required an interview.
Looking more like each other than ever.
You are beautiful and amazing, and we love you.
Did you guys look at what it was in?
If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and watch this video for my video from last SJMade Friend Fest, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!